Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Be More Uncommon talk. And these talks are designed to inspire and empower our neurodivergent community by showcasing role models such as Dara today, who share their experiences, any challenges, and triumphs. Just in case you're new to Uncommon, we provide a safe and supportive online space for neurodivergent tweens and teens to make friends, collaborate, explore creativity, and grow in confidence. I'm your host, Mivy. Hello, I have ADHD and I work at Uncommon. I do a bunch of like the facilitating here with Roblox and Minecraft, etc. Dara, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Dara. I'm a writer. I and nature lover. I've spent all of my life just experiencing the natural world and have an insatiable inability to stop myself from writing. I cannot stop writing. Every single time a word comes into my brain, if I don't understand it properly, it's going straight down into a notebook. We'll get into some of that stuff later. But my life is writing and going out into the natural world and fighting to protect it.
I love that. I love that you're basically led by the pen and the page. That's very, very fun. So to start, I really love providing some confidence, that too, but context is the word that I was looking for there, about who our guests are. By that I mean, when were you diagnosed? And this is such an awkward question to ask, but this can be like self-diagnosed medically, however that part of your journey is, and kind of also what led up to that moment.
Yeah, so I was diagnosed very, very young. I before I can really remember. I've got like vague memories of occupational, like physical uh, therapy, and them going, yeah, that's some interesting movements there. And the particular standout from my assessment was whenever they gave me like a celebration. I think it was a Christmas dinner or something. I must be. I was about five, probably 4 or 5, whenever it was going on, and they gave me this celebration, and they were like, "So why are all of these people here?" And I said because they're hungry. Uh, and I think the doctor probably gave my mum a look and just was like, "Okay, yeah, we're just going to diagnose right now." And so I don't really know what it's like to live undiagnosed, which I'm very privileged. I whenever I was growing up, autism was just a part, not even a part. I just sort of experienced it. I was occasionally confused why I I either didn't like interacting with people or why people didn't want to hear the incessant facts that I would spout about wolves or birds of prey. And I'd go, why isn't this interesting? And they'd be like, you haven't stopped talking for like 15 minutes. And I would be like, huh? um, and I think understanding that was a big part. Um, but I it's always just been I don't I always just process the world in that way of um I don't know what it's like to be neurotypical. Seems like quite a strange experience. I quite like I don't really know how to even think about it. I guess when your brain is just programmed in a different way, you've got a different way of seeing the world, a different way of experiencing, because it's different. Um, and there is no way of putting yourself into someone else's brain. You can't see, like, I'm colorblind as well. I cannot see the colors that everybody else can. In the same way that that people who are completely color vision also can't see the colors that I'm seeing either. I experience that in a different way too. I think it's similar with neurodivergence in that we experience the world in a fundamentally different way, and we can't actually step into someone else's mind and just go, "This is how this is what it's like." But yeah, it was quite early, and yeah,
Yeah, that's so interesting. I've had we've had quite a few guests now that are always kind of late diagnosed. I myself was diagnosed in like the final year of my MA, which really was super useful. It was like mid dissertation. One thing that kind of jumped out from there to me is how what colors can you see, and like does how does that interact with, like nature, such like a green thing? Is that something that like how's that work?
Um, so honestly, I've got no idea what other people are seeing whenever they see colors, but I do know for a fact that blue and purple are a lot closer to me than they are for other people. Like blue and purple just look the same. I understand which one's blue and which one's purple, sort of by inference, going that one's a little bit darker, that one's a little bit lighter, and that one's slightly got a bit more green in it. I don't really know what to do with that information. I can sort of by inference guess which color it is, but they don't look all that different. And also, all oranges and green, like beige, sort of like becomes one thing as well. Whenever I'm out in the natural world, this means that all like I struggle with differentiating greens out, so it means that I can struggle with like seeing wildlife occasionally. I usually need things to move for me to be able to see anything. Like that tiny little bird that's just going to be standing still for 10 minutes. I've got not a chance of seeing. Not in the slightest chance, unless I get really, really, really lucky. Um, like my eyesight is not the best in the world. I think it did affect how I experienced the natural world, though, in that regard, because I always looked out for the things that were easy for me to see. It's why I probably care about more common species, um, species that I see every day, species I don't have to like get really, really lucky to see. My natural world is just all encompassing, all containing. I walk into a forest, I can hear everything, I can see all of the nature coming out at me. And then whenever actually am able to see something, my brain just goes, "Ooh, oh my God, it's actually jumping out at me." And so I think that was one of the, like, that is I think it's probably why I focus so much in my writing on those simple things, on the beetles that you can just see scurrying around the ground, on the magpies, on dandelions, on mountains. Like, because you can't really miss a mountain no matter how bad. Like there's my eyesight is bad, but I can still see a mountain. I'm trying to then go, okay, all of this stuff that I have accessible to me. This is accessible to me in the natural world, and I love it. I love the natural world. How do I show that my love of the natural world can just come from these very simple things? And how do I make the simple that much more beautiful, which was always the main drive behind my writing, is take the things that we see every day, take the just existing in the natural world and make it seem magical.
Do you think that being autistic kind of shapes the way that you notice or connect with the natural world?
Um, I assume it does. In the same way, in the past that I don't know what it's like. I don't know how the neurotypicals are actually interacting with the natural world, considering the state of it. Maybe not the best. Uh, um, but I do know that I see colors. Although being colorblind, my autism is really light sensitive. I'm really hypersensitive to light. I remember once. This is a bit of a tangent, I will get back. It is related. Um, um, I walked into a Lindt chocolate shop, and in on a school trip, and oh my word, I walk in. Like I'm a Lindt chocolate shop. All of the colors, all of the different colors, chocolates in their shiny wrappers, almost luminescent. I walk in. It was a really, really hot day. I walk in, stare for about 10 seconds, start going into meltdown faint, have to get dragged out of the shop. Um, um, and I can't deal with that. Whereas the natural world, on the other hand, usually has quite muted colors. In general, they're usually not as like artificially bright and saturated. Like if you go into a forest, very very green, but it's not very saturated. It's not luminescent green. It's not like neon green. It's a quite. It's the natural world has quite a muted palette in general, and for me that's so much easier to process. My brain is just like, oh my word, the colors, they're not actually assaulting me at all times. I can actually think for once. Um, like uh, because my brain is always trying to um, process light. I spend a lot of time in the dark. It's why uh, I wrote my newest book on nocturnal wildlife is because I just love the dark. Um, I whenever I just need whenever it's too bright, my brain just shuts down. But the natural world has that already built in, really. It's already not assaulting your eyes at every moment, every turn. Um, on the other hand, um, I can deal with sound quite well, unless it is a singular repeating sound, in which case I will go insane. Um, but like really loud sounds, I'm completely fine with. I, li- I listen to a lot of heavy music. I'm probably half deaf already. Um, I it's but yeah. So whenever I go into the natural world, I'm spending a lot of time listening as well. I have to spend a bit more time listening. Um, whereas yeah, the lights and the colors are probably the most relaxing bit of the natural world for me because I can leave the human world and all of a sudden my brain's at peace. It's no
Mm.
longer collapsing in on itself like a black hole and going ah. And because I remember whenever I was growing up, my most hated class was Spanish, specifically for the flag. Um, because as you might imagine a Spanish classroom, flag everywhere. Oh my word, the I couldn't stay in that classroom for longer than 15 minutes. Um, and I think that's probably the biggest impact that the autism has on my sensory processing is color. Um, I'm a I'm a very visual person, which is ironic considering I went into writing and I can't draw. But
You paint
um,
images with your words.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I need to have it. Yeah, because yeah, my English teacher always got so frustrated with me because I would just write descriptive imagery for every single one of my creative writing projects. They were like, "Where's the plot?" And I'm like, "It's more of a vibe. Like I'm creating an image, and you can have a. Who cares about the plot? It's fine. There's an image of what's going on, rather than actually being able to create narrative, which is probably why I like writing the picture books, because I
Mm.
can literally have my writing um, come in with the incredible artist Barry Falls. I can literally have my writing appear in imagery in front of me. I send off my words to him, and he sends me back images, and I'm just like, this is perfect. This is incredible. Or why I wrote the diary in a diary format, very short pieces of just imagery. Don't really have to follow a plot, more of a vibe theme over distance. Like, and I can really hinge on that.
Yeah, that's so interesting. There are a couple of things in there. I think the main thing that I relate to is that I also am very light sensitive. I feel like I often have to wear sunglasses when I'm like in the city because the light kind of reflects off the pavements and stuff quite a lot. Is Yeah, one time I had to put away a white tent in the sun, and that was possibly one of the worst days of my life because I didn't have sunglasses. My eyes were like on fire. Um,
You know,
yeah, but
people
in
tend.
nature, not as bad. I live in the country. I just looked outside. I live in the countryside, and it's way less kind of like in your face. I can definitely see that. Speaking of your writing, so you started your blog when you were super young. What kind of made you initially want to share your thoughts and kind of, yeah, how did you get started?
So uh, see, this is the thing now. I've been doing this for 9 years now, which feels insane because I started whenever I was 12. And and I'm reaching back into the because whenever I was starting the blog, I was in an interesting place mentally. I was desperately trying to find community and hope. This is pre any sort of real climate movement. Um, the like you strike for climate did not exist at that time. I was I was seeing all of this destruction around me, and I needed to say something. I had all of these writings and notes that were really scattered. I read back through my early blog posts; they are not good. Although I was 12, so I'm going to give myself a little bit of um, leeway there. Um, but I think I had this desire to just write. Um, I've always I've always been writing. Like I always need to write. Um, Even if it's little pieces, little bits, my brain goes, writing. Like I get the experience in my brain. I understand it whenever it comes in. I then write it down. I look at it and go, that's what that was. Like I don't really gain any new details. I don't gain any, or more specifically, I don't ever gain new details about the world around me from writing. I gain details about how I reacted to it. I tell a lot more about myself from my writing than I do about the world usually. Um, it also helps me, and also I have honestly some of the worst memory. I literally forgot the biggest reason why I started the blog, just because of my memory. I I have I am I genuinely have some of the worst memory I have ever seen. I It's seriously impressive that I've made it through university with the severe memory. Like I have periods of my life that I just cannot remember. Like in the period whenever I was writing my book, my only recollection of that time period really is the book. I need to have some form of written like record. Otherwise, that period of my life gone. Disappeared. I will get like I'll have maybe like 5 memories of like a year, um, of like a year long period, and I'm like, yep, that just about does it. Um, and also my short term memory as well, horrendous. Which is why whenever I was writing the diary, because it was a diary, I needed to finish them all the night of. So I wrote the entire book basically at 2 a.m. Uh, I would go through the day, then I would write out at 2 a.m. And then I would come back to it in like a few weeks and edit it. Although for the book I tried to edit it as least as less as like I didn't want to edit that much because I was like I need to because if I'm not going to have a plot here, I might as well have a meta plot, which is that my writing will get better over this book because I'm having to write in this style every single day, or not every single day. On the boring days there are no diary entries, but um, because that would have been a really really long book of just I did homework today, and just moved on. But I needed to, whenever something important happened, I needed to really recollect down. The blog allowed me in the beginning to, I was writing like a blog post, like maybe once, like maybe 4 times a week, like sometimes every day. even if it was only like 200 words, 200, 300 words, I just kept on writing. Um, and I needed to. Uh, I found other ways of recording my life now. Because of the way I am, I can't keep doing one thing for a really long time. I need to hop around. I can't. I now do different styles of writing. I've done music now. Done. I have attempted to learn how to do art. It's certainly an experience. I was good at it whenever I was younger. That skill has dramatically dropped off since then. I needed to write in all of these different styles to try and get it back. But I think fundamentally the one constant in my life, out of all of the special interests, out of all of the different things that I go off on tangents on, nature has always been there as like the sort of root of it. If it some of those branches on that tree, very distant to the natural world, like impossibly distant. I might write a horror short story in the woods. But the natural world always has to play some form of part in it because it's where I get all of my inspiration, all of my knowledge, all of my vibes. I don't know.
Mm.
Um, I
Yeah.
need to connect it in some way.
Speaking of kind of inspiration, I was going to ask, like, how do you find inspiration for your books, especially, like your upcoming one is like about nighttime, about nighttime, and then there's how do you kind of like, do you think like, oh, I'm going to write about this, or is it like from an experience you have that kind of prompts something? How do you go about that?
Honestly, I think my publishers would really love to know where my inspiration comes from as much as I do, because honestly, no idea. I wake up one day and I'm going, I get in front of my laptop and I just go, this is what I'm writing today, which is not good for productivity. Because if I decide I'm going to write something this way today, I'm going to be writing that today. All other projects are gone. Uh, for at least for a day. Um, I my inspiration comes from the natural world in a sort of like okay, I've got like two different bits of inspiration. Um, so there's the inspiration that I just pluck out of air. I'm going to be doing this today. I've no idea where that comes from. It just sort of appears and it's probably why I get writer's block occasionally. The other form of inspiration is whenever I'm actively writing and I'm calling on all of these different bits of pieces that I've seen. I scroll through like my photo library. I try and remember the last week. Uh, I talk to people, long conversations with people about random topics. Um, I listen to music while I'm writing, and each sentence sort of has to come from some sort of experience. I can't just like I'm not one of those people who can just write like full well if I want it to be good. I sort of stream of consciousness, but it's a stream of consciousness of this idea, then this idea, then this idea. But I need to recollect each idea, which makes it very slow. Also, I'm a ridiculously slow typer, which is unfortunate. Um, and but I don't get to choose whenever these little bits of inspiration go. I don't choose whenever my memory miraculously reappears and goes, oh, I remember that bit. So my basically my solution was a bunch of notebooks scattered around my house, like on every single surface. I've just got a little notebook, and whenever I get an idea, I open it and I write it in. And at the end of the month, I will collect all of these notebooks together and try to make sense of what on earth I have written. Uh, like I will try to collect all of these little ideas together because I'm going to be honest, that's probably the most laborious bit of my writing is trying to connect all of these really disconnected thoughts and try and make them like coherent. then I will, because I will end up with maybe like 30 pages, and I will like about a page of it, which I will then smush together, connect it all, hopefully, to make it like seem as though I wrote it all in one go, and then edit it like a normal person. Uh, Instead of having 30 pages that were collected over a month of random thoughts at 2 a.m. or like over breakfast, and I have to run to the bench and go, nope, nope, idea, idea, idea. This is a very scattered writing style. I'm horrendously disorganized. Um, I but it works somewhat.
Mm.
I have a system.
I like that. I
But
like hearing about this. Sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah,
I feel like this shows that it is accessible in any way, because I feel like some people may some people who want to be writers are like, okay, I have to have like this massive draft of something, or like I need all my things organized, and here you are, a chaos goblin essentially, just like
yeah,
leaving
basically,
little yeah.
yeah. I think it honestly, if you're more organized, you're probably going to get more writing done overall in a shorter space of time. But honestly, book publishers honestly expect, in general, horrendous deadline. Like, as in, unless children's publishers, they like their deadlines a little bit more. Um, but other writers, they're like, let the writer just figure out what on earth is going on in their brain. We're not going to touch this with a 10-foot pole, otherwise this poor little goblin creature might explode. But yeah, I then because a lot of my notes are handwritten, I then type them up into my big draft. Um, I then have maybe like 10 projects on the go at any one time, because none of these will get published. But I need to have lots of different things on the go at one point, just in case I get an idea for one of them.
Mm.
Um, and then they'll slowly increase in size. Um, but I feel like that's the thing about writing, is it is accessible in the sense that if you write down a sentence, you've done a writing. The writing has been done. You can't take it back now. Um, I try to disconnect the physical process of writing a lot of the time, or at least try to make it, or disconnect myself from my writing at times. So one of the things, now this one's a bit controversial. Of one of the things that I do, in that I will write down like a passage, and then I'll burn it. Uh, um, because I don't like getting attached to my own writing.
Oh,
Because then
so
it
it's
makes
like killing your darlings literally.
I so but the reason, there is a specific reason why I do this, is because it means that your writing becomes a little bit less precious to you. Because I feel like the thing with any new writer is that you go, every single word that you say must be perfect. Every single word must be exactly as it is in my head. And then but it's not going to be like that. We're not going to be all going to be doing the James Joyce method of writing 5 words a day, because Finnegan's Wake took him 29 years to write through that method, and it's gibberish. It's great gibberish. I love that gibberish, but it is. It's not a book really. It's a collection of ideas and random syntax and punctuation. No punctuation, actually. That's a key part of it. There is no punctuation in Finnegan's Wake.
The more you
Um,
know. I haven't, forgive me, but I don't know what Finnegan's Wake is. And so that sounds just absolute wild to me.
yeah, James Joyce was an interesting character. Yeah, because and he was like, "This is my masterwork. Every single word of this book should be perfect. It should be mathematically aligned with every single other word in this book." So it doesn't really read like a book. Um, but I am a strong believer that you get words in your brain, you write them down, some of them are going to be good, some of them are not going to be good. It's important to understand which ones are good and bad. And even whenever you get a good word, you're still going to be able to write better stuff. Which is why I like to disattach myself from my writing. Hence, and also there's something like sort of ritualistic of sending your words up in ashes. Um, so that was a slightly. I know some of my other writer friends who do similar techniques. Sometimes in like Word documents, writing out a Word document then deleting it. Like writing down a piece of paper, scrumpling it up, tossing it away. I think fire is more fun of a way to do it. If you're going to burn things at home, uh, be responsible and don't set your house on fire. I take no legal liability for any fires caused by this method. But yeah, it's there are many different ways of doing it. As long as because whenever we start to get precious about our writing, we end up writing nothing, and then we get really stressed about writing nothing because then we feel like we failed as a writer. And this is the writer's block. This is what writer's block is whenever you feel like you can't write anything because anything you write won't be good. If you already assume that it's going off into the wind as soon as you write it down, well, then it doesn't actually matter what you write at that point. And in the end, some of it will be good, and maybe you can collect it up in notebooks and format it and edit it, and then it might be decent. But yeah, um, and that is an intro, I feel like, to my chaotic writing method, which involves just a large volume of writing. I just spend a lot of time writing, which is why I feel like
Mm.
I am like this, is that I only write.
Yeah,
I
sorry, I feel like we have some questions that are very related to this. One of which is like imposter syndrome for your writing. Like how do you experience it? And also how do you convince your brain that what you're writing is good? And I feel like some of that is enmeshed with you just being like, well, I'm burning this now.
Yeah. So yeah, I do get imposter syndrome all the time. I have serious confidence issues about my writing. I don't like most of my writing. You've probably I've literally already dissed my own writing in this podcast already. Whenever I was like I don't there are bits of writing that I am proud of. I'm like sometimes I write stuff. I'm like got it. Like the beginning of Winter in the Diary. It's actually one of the few bits of the book that is I spent a significant amount of time writing, rewriting, and trying to make absolutely perfect. The rest of the book is sort of my collections of thoughts, and then the beginning and end of Winter. Because I think I became a better writer by Winter. I got through the interesting moment in my life that was summer of that book. Autumn, figuring stuff out. Winter, I was like, this writing thing I actually quite like more than like I like the idea of constructing writing, not just writing for writing's sake. And but yeah, the imposter syndrome, yeah, I never feel like I finish really. Um, a, a wise person once said, I should remember, it's a video game publisher. It, a work is not finished; it is just released. Uh, I'm horrendously perfectionistic, and also I just see so much better writing than me all the time. And I think the way that I sort of resolved this in myself was going, well, maybe there is no such real thing as better or good writing. Maybe there's no such thing as really good writing. There's just writing that means stuff to people. Like, if you're writing, I say one of the greatest pieces of art that anyone can ever experience is a letter written by a loved one that really means something to you. It doesn't need to be the most well written thing in the world, or technically good, but it is still going to be one of the most beautiful things you ever experience in your life, far better than any book that you're ever going to read that is technically quite good. Writing attracts people, it brings people into a different world. It can show how much you love someone or something. It can show you these different imaginary places, and we can connect through writing. But the actual writing itself, um, it becomes good whenever we can connect more people, or we can connect in a special way to people. But the writing itself isn't bad. Writing itself is sort of it's sort of a unique position in that it's literally defined in first of all that we can understand it, which is why Finnegan's Wake possibly isn't the best in the world, because I know about 6 people who can understand it personally. Um, and I've reread that book quite a few times. I am not one of those people who can understand that book. And I understand the lore. I understand what it's based off, which is an old folk song about a guy named Finnegan who they think is dead. They have a wake for him. Turns out he wasn't dead and jumps out of the coffin, which is quite a. And still, I've got no idea what's going on in this book. But yeah, and that's why I don't get too attached to my writing anymore, because at least whenever I was younger, I was in that sense of everything must be perfect. If it's not perfect, I'm not a good writer. And if I'm not a good writer, then why is anyone reading anything? And then I just went, well, people are reading it. And that's all that really matters. Writing is there to be read. If people are doing that, fine. I did my job. Um, I think I had some good passages in there. Some of it will line up with what I like. Some of it I will think was a bit cringe on my part. Um, but like I'm just going, oh my god. There is one singular line in the diary that will haunt me till my dying days, and I tried to get it edited out, but there are tens of thousands of copies of this book that have the line, "I was swinging on the swing," and I will. That is something that I'm going to have to take to my grave. I I didn't notice until it was published. I tried to get it edited out once. I tried to get it edited out twice. By this point, we had gone through like 4 print runs. I was like, please, someone take this out. By the time it didn't get edited out of the hardback at all, it made it to the paperback, and I was like, please, Penguin, remove this line. I beg. But no, there is going to be some people who read this book and they hear the line, "I am swinging on the swing," and that is, and I was just, I went into like a crisis for like a week of like, oh my god, I'm a people bought this, people paid me to write that line, like,
If there's ever
um,
like a signing, somebody has to open the book to that page and get you to sign exactly.
I will tear the page out the book in front of I like I will be like, no, this page is going. You can read the rest of the book. I'll cross it out. um, yes, no, it's quite funny though. But yeah, I think we all make silly mistakes. We all do stupid things. And I think whenever I realized that I could do that bad of a mistake, like something that technically just cringe, uh, um, and I was just like, okay, I'm fine. I have resolved my personal doubts in this one. If the people are going to read the rest of the book and be like, also, I am complete. I think also the other thing is, there's this idea in literary criticism called death of the author, um, which, if people don't know, is basically the idea that whenever you write a book and you publish it, the author has very little actual connection with the book itself. Like the author dies. Like the author could be dead or alive. The author doesn't really matter. you're just dealing with the book now, assuming people don't know the inner secrets of my life. Which, although I wrote a diary, and I was very, very honest with that diary, you can get a decent understanding of me from the book, but you're not going to get all of the understanding from me from the book. And then you can just go, well, if people can't even get that from the book, like they can't even cross that line to understand you as a person, then you can just go, well, whatever they get out of the book is good. Interpretation is the name of the game here. And whenever people respond positively to your writing, you can be like, okay, it's done, it's finished. And obviously, if people are going like, what were you writing there, mate? You can be also like, yeah, that's fine too. Criticism is good, even though I personally I struggle with criticism. I criticize myself enough. I do not need other people to do it for me. Um, I think you can, once you get over that point. Yeah. Thank you. Did someone ask the imposter syndrome question?
Yes, somebody did.
Thank you to that person, because for many years, long suffering imposter, and then realized that there cannot be an imposter of me. I am, as far as I'm aware, as long as there is no antimatter copy doppelganger out there of me, I'm the only me, and I cannot imposter myself. And the book version of me that is out there in a diary is an imposter, but I'm kind of chill with them being there. They're not entirely me, but it allows me to have an air of mystery around me.
I like that.
Um,
I like that. Um, so sorry to interrupt you, but I'm very aware of time at the moment. So I'm gonna quickly speed us through a couple of questions. One of which is about your upcoming book. I don't know, new book, upcoming book. I don't know what makes most sense. A Wild Child's Guide to Nature at Night. What kind of inspired you to write this book?
so I think this definitely goes back to the earlier point of me very much liking the dark. Spent a lot of time outside. My dad, for a time, was a licensed bat worker. So whenever I was growing up, I was in a slightly colder room in the house, which is fine. I really dislike heat. Um, and as a result, all of the bats stayed in my room. So I would just have a lot of shoe boxes in my room, um, in the middle of the night, just chirping away. Uh, and so I was the bat caretaker. I was not allowed to touch them because that would be illegal. Just for anyone, you are not allowed to touch bats. You need a licensed bat worker. You might get rabies. Uh, or also kill them. They're really fragile. They're really delicate little guys. Like you don't like they are genuinely some of the most delicate little creatures. I love them so much. I did get the joy of feeding them, which I was allowed to do, and they would just get their little mealworms and go. And so I've loved the nighttime. I've always loved bats. They would not let me put one on the cover though. I fought so hard, but apparently that's not marketable enough. I did get a bat on everywhere else, basically, on the book though. Um, and I believe that releases on September 18th. I'm not the best with dates, but I'm 90% sure that is the case. I'm 100% sure because I've just properly remembered. And it was basically just. Also, I did in fact. There was also another reason why I did the book in this way, and now this is probably the most autistic thing I'm going to say all day. But basically, my first book cover was yellow. Wild Child was green. My next book of birds was blue, and I went, I need to go across the color wheel, which means purple, which means I need to go to the nighttime as well. And I'm not joking. That was a very real thought process in my brain that went, I need to go across the color wheel, because I realized after the first Wild Child book that I needed to make it the next one blue, and I was like, okay, now I need to make this one purple. And I'll just keep with all my covers, just like slowly rotating myself around the color wheel until I get back to yellow again. Um, um, and yeah, it was a mixture of things. Some of them very, very like I just love. I love my nocturnal creatures. They're very unseen, obviously because people are usually asleep. But there's a lot of like cool facts about how you can see stuff in the dark. My personal favorite. This is a spoiler. Ooh, a little teaser. But basically, if you ever want to be absolutely, if you're scared of spiders, do not do what I'm about to say uh, because it will scare you. If you get a torch and um, put it between on your forehead in at nighttime, all of the spiders will their eyes will all light up green, um, and you will just get all of these little tiny emeralds in like a field, uh, and you can see every single spider in the field. Uh, I was it for whenever I was doing research in the jungle. I turned on my torch. I did it up, thousands upon thousands of lights shining back at me. It also works on mammals as well. It's the same way that cat eyes work. Like if you shine a light into a cat's eye, it will shine straight back at you. Um, it's a little layer on the back of the eye for nocturnal creatures so that they can see in the dark. Um, uh, but yeah, but the most common thing that you will see using that method are the spiders, and they're really pretty. It's just like little emeralds. They're just shiny little green lights, which is quite cute. Um, and you can't even, but you do know now where every single spider is. Uh, and it's quite a fun little thing to do. But yeah, little exclusive there from the book.
Thank you, thank
But
you.
again, it has the incredible art of Barry Falls. I have it took a little bit longer to make this one because my writing with university, my writing style has gone increasing. Like it used to be chaotic, and it's been just getting more and more chaotic over time.
So
And I need to.
related to this, so sorry to interrupt you there again. But related to this, we did have a question which was, and I'm so sorry to have penned this on you, but somebody asks, how do you balance studying for a degree and writing books, especially if you are, and I quote, a chaos goblin?
The answer is I don't balance. Now, this is a horrendous answer because it helps no one. Do not do what I do. Um, because because my university degree, I cannot write books while I'm studying. I have to write them during the holidays. I work. My degree is just, and I decided to do another year. Oh my god, why did I do this to myself? Um, um, but basically, what I do is I come home from the holidays and I write a lot. And whenever I'm at university, I shouldn't write a lot, but also whenever I'm in university, the stuff that I'm writing tends to not be stuff that I want to get published because it's usually even more chaotic, mixed with like academic like ramblings that no one will understand because I when I've moved from biology into philosophy, so my ramblings have become distinctly more incoherent. um, and uh, I need a way of like getting all of my thoughts out. A lot of time, and also one thing I did do in university that I never really did before was write poetry. A lot quicker, a lot easier to do a quick poem than write out 1,000 words. So that was sort of how I balanced it out because I've got another book coming. Um, Whenever I finish it, um, on Celtic mythology, which I'm going to use the poetry that I've written. hopefully, in the book. Uh,
Ooh,
um, which means that the work that I did, the random work that I did, will not go to waste entirely.
I love
Um,
that.
but yeah, but the answer is I balance by finding time. Um, holidays, go nuts on that. University time, study nuts.
I have a
Just about.
related question. And again, I'm very aware of time, so I'm gonna have to just keep interrupting you, I'm afraid. But that's just because I want to make sure everybody gets to go and have lunch,
Oh,
not
yeah, yeah,
lunch,
yeah.
dinner, including yourself. So related to what you just said, I'm gonna ask one of my questions and then I'll start going through other people's questions. Burnout, I assume, is something that you can quickly go into, especially with writing. How have you experienced burnout? How do you kind of deal with burnout?
So yeah, I go into burnout after the end of each term in university. Um, I I I pray to every single deity that's going that I don't get it in the middle of term, but it has happened. And basically, what happens is I sleep for like two to 3 days. I just can't leave bed. Like, there's not much I can do about it. I just can't do anything. I basically just curl up into a little ball and I wait it out usually. Because I sort of know that it's going to pass. It's happened enough that I push my body and my mind to the breaking point, go off the edge, because I don't really know where the edge is half the time. And then suddenly I'm like, oh, there it is. After I feel like do you know a road runner after like runs off the cliff, just looks the coyote looks back to go, oh no, and then plummets. And then I spend a little bit of time at the bottom of the cliff for a bit, just sort of going, oh Lord, oh help. Uh, I drink a lot of tea. Uh, Usually, I drink copious amounts of tea in that time, uh, and then I don't know. I should have better methods by this point, but I don't really have the energy to use better methods. There's just no energy, so it's like I just accept that this is what I'm doing now. I send emails to people going, "You're not going to see me. Deal with it, lol." um, like, it's just not going to happen today. And most of them are really uh, good about like at least whenever I'm studying, they're like, okay, burnout's a thing. And if they're not, then I don't turn up, and they have to deal with it. Uh, and I'm just like, I'm under the Equality Act. You have to allow me to take time off if I literally cannot. If I'm too ill, you it's just like any other illness. I would say, take your sick leave. Take that time off. Don't force yourself into doing more and more and more. With the little energy that you have, your energy is not going to come back miraculously over just randomly. It's going to just get worse and worse and worse, would be my advice.
Yeah, I think that's so important, especially, I feel like neurodivergent people are more prone, I guess, or more aware of it. I don't know. I don't want to generalize, but I've definitely had massive bouts of burnout. Um, so yes, we may go slightly over time just because there are a couple of questions. If you need to quickly whisk away, that's totally fine though. Um, one of which is, let's see, there's so many.
Oh,
How long does it usually take you to write? Oh no, wait, hold on. We'll skip that question for a second. Breakneck, go to a different one, which is going back to the past. I think it's quite interesting. As you said
hmm.
that you were diagnosed at a young age. How was your experience of school? Like what kind of, okay, if it's not great, we can move on from there.
I can talk about it. I think it's important to talk about.
Okay.
Whenever I was in school, for a multitude of reasons, bullied pretty heavily, as you might imagine. I was not the most sociable of people. I had a few close friends, um, but I think one of the things about at least whenever I was younger is that because of my dad's job, we moved around quite a bit, so I didn't really build up that big of a connection with anybody, like with long-time childhood friends, or anything like that. So I moved to a new school, have to do it all over again, which is just like, oh. I stood up to bullies. I was a. I think it probably was one of the reasons why I got a little bit anger whenever I was a teenager.
Mm,
Um, I and probably I listened to a lot of punk music.
mm. Do
Uh,
you do you feel like this is also like nature also kind of came into play here and was kind of
oh yeah.
like, yeah, yeah, how did what sort of things kind of helped you escape from this and also like, deal with those feelings and stuff?
So there were two main things that helped me escape. One was the natural world. No bullies there. I could just walk in, leave everything at the gate. I'm in. Don't need to care about anything else. Uh, the, the trees ain't gonna judge me. Um, I'm free. I could just be free. I'm completely fine. And then also music was my big escape. Um, I I just listen to music uh, rapidly. I can't stop now. Even now, I can't stop listening to music. Really, it's a massive part of my life, and I use music as a way of sort of blocking out stuff, and escape, and as a form of escapism. Also reading as well. I think those are my big three. But the natural world provided a physical barrier. I could just be out of human society for a bit, and whenever I desperately needed it. So yeah, I think the natural world provided a real safe space. Um, like we had a safe space in one of the schools that I was in, but unfortunately, now this is I wasn't bullied in there, but unfortunately there were people in there, and I was not up for socializing. Uh, and I was just like, nope, go into the woods. Can't stop me. Eh. Um, so yeah, I think the natural world provided that real safe space.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's my safe space too. Like living in the countryside, I'd always like find trees with my friends for quite some time. Cool. We are basically at time, but I'll ask a couple more questions if that's okay. And if not, feel free to be like, I gotta go. Um,
Mhm.
so one of which is, what do you hope young people take away from your books and your writing and just, I guess, all of your work as well, like conservation too?
Um, I never really know what people take away from my writing. I think that's a part of the whole death of the author thing. I don't get to control it. I wish I could just reach into your minds and just go, haha, this is what I was going on about. This idea in this exact way. Um, but unfortunately, I do not have telepathic abilities, which I would which also sounds terrifying. I don't want to know what's on other people's minds. That sounds awful, and also a deep restriction of privacy. But anyway, um, uh, I think the thing that I would love for people to take away from my books, first of all, the natural world is a beautiful place that we can find refuge in, and that it is a life support system of the entire planet. And not only that, but we are in nature. We are nature. Humans are in the natural world. Everything is the natural on the planet Earth is a part of the natural world. It's all connected in some tangled web of strings and knots. Um, and then also that people can make a difference. I believe that the great author Ursula K. Le Guin had this idea that the human world is shaped by human ideas, and therefore humans are the ones that can change the world through our ideas. And whenever we decide to pick up the pen, the paintbrush, a musical instrument, go to a protest, try to make ourselves better, talk to people about the natural world or issues that we care in. We are, in our own way, changing the world, or at least the human world. We're not changing the natural world. but the human world has the dramatic impacts on the natural world. I don't believe entirely in that separation, but the human world at least is changed by human thoughts, and we have power over changing that. No matter how much the big ups think that they have that power resides exactly with the people, and I think that's a great source of hope. I think hope is a big part of the message that I want people to take away. Hope, not the like sort of silly hope that, oh my god, everything's going to turn out fine, therefore I don't need to do anything. But the hope that if I do stuff now, we can actually have a better future. Um, a more active hope than a passive, just like everything's going to be okay sort of hope. I think that active hope is what I really hope people take away. That yes, you can find people that you can connect with. Yes, you can make a change in your communities. Yes, you can put pressure on governments to make a change. Yes, you can help yourself fit into a world that doesn't seem like it really cares about you. And all of the challenges that are presented by neurodivergence, yes, you can not just overcome those issues, but also use all of the other things that make you an amazing person to make the world a better place. Um, you can, in fact, do all of that if you take an active role and actually start doing stuff. Is what I hope people take away.
I like that. I like the concept of active hope. It's always been something that I've been drawn to. I had a question in my mind and then it left. Wait,
Cool.
come back. Oh yes, final two questions and then I will wrap up and let everybody go. I feel like I'm keeping everybody hostage right now. I swear I'm not. So for anyone who loves wildlife or even writing, I know that those are two different things, but they are the same for you. And doesn't know where to start, what's one small step that they could take?
So there are a few things that you can do if you really love writing. The simple answer is get writing. Like the only thing that what makes you a writer is writing. Doesn't matter if it's published or not published. If you're writing, you're a writer. That's a fundamental point. Doesn't matter if it's published, unpublished, on a napkin, on your walls. I don't know. If you're right, you're right, and you're a writer then. Um, and if you want to start making changes about uh, like your life and your community, honestly, the biggest thing you can do is talk to people, and that's really difficult. I was basic. I didn't really get into this through the chat, which feels entirely strange because this is a chat about neurodivergence, but I forgot again. Whenever I was younger, I was I was partially non-verbal on some days, especially whenever I was burnt out or whenever I was having like just a shutdown day. Um, I had like a stack of cards that I had with all of the things that I needed to say to people, and I was like, I can't talk today. Here's my message. I don't have the energy to socialize right now. And do that. But even having that talk with those people, even non-verbally, even like trying to show them what was going on in my mind, made a massive impact on my life and probably on theirs, and that they could actually see, okay, they're going for it. They're having a moment. It's not a good day for them, but we can actually help and do better to help them for a slightly more difficult time. Conversations matter so much. Talking matters so much. Um, Reaching out matters, and reaching out is really difficult. I don't reach out. That's really bad at me. It's something I need to work on. Actually, asking for help. Ask. Um, but talking, I think really, or writing, or any method of communication that you find most fit. Make music, draw, find some way of getting what's inside of your head outside of your head. and people will begin to see things in a slightly different, I always find.
Thank you for that. Okay, final question, and then I'll do some housekeeping, and then we'll finish. Have you got a current favorite animal fact?
Ooh, okay then. Um, oh, I had one, but then I added in like a lot of different facts into my brain, and then I overloaded my brain. Okay, so a really, really cool fact is about. So my current special interest is wolves, which is probably because I'm now doing my masters on the extinction of wolves in Ireland. Um, um, but basically, whenever so there's a lot of reintroduction projects of wolves across the world, but one of the most famous and most interesting is the reintroduction of wolves into Yellowstone National Park. Now, this has caused a really interesting thing to happen. So basically, deer populations have gone out of control in Yellowstone for a long time. And basically, they reintroduced the deer, and not the deer, the wolves. And then the deer populations went down. This then caused all of the trees to grow up because the deers were eating the trees. This then caused the soil structure to change, which then caused a river to appear through Yellowstone. And this then caused the hills to start changing shape and start moving and then the river started shifting as the deer population started moving as these wolves moved across the landscape. It's so cool. The wolves literally changed the shape about a river of rivers and hills and forests by their reintroduction, and it is so cool. It's like there was that instance in I love reintroduction projects like this because they're so funny. There was this incident in Canada um, where basically the government have been like trying to figure out how to build a dam across this river, and it had taken them. They were about 10 years. Whoa, whoa,
Don't worry, you're still
nope.
here. Hello, hello.
About 10 years into planning, um, and then they came down to the river one day to like do a final survey. What did they find? Overnight, a bunch of beavers had already built the dam perfectly, fixed the entire situation, literally better than all of their plans, uh, without any government planning. Had just built the perfect dam,
Did they get a permit for that?
and the government was just like, "Well, I guess we don't need to build a dam anymore." They sort of did it. um, Truly a moment of like they've been on this planning program for like years, wondering about like the ecological results of this. And the beavers just did it, and the ecosystem was perfectly fine because the beavers did it.
That's incredible.
Um,
Beavers. I'm actually shocked about that. That's so
10
cool.
out of 10.
Yeah.
I have literally no notes on that instance. It's truly one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen of just humans taking too long and the beavers just going, I'll do it myself.
I love that. That is so cool. Thank you so much for sharing. I see one person that we work with at Uncommon who learnt that uni too, and they're glad that you're sharing this with the world. So thank you for that. Cool. I'm gonna wrap up here. Thank you so much for sharing so many things. I feel like there's so many like interesting I'm gonna say out of the box ways of like approaching writing, which I think, kind of lends itself quite well to some of our more chaotic people, including myself, in the chat. So thank you so much for that. Thank you everybody for coming and watching and listening, and thank you to anybody in the future who watches this as well. Dara, do you have anything to plug? And of course, we know what, but continue.
I do have some things that I'm legally required to plug. Otherwise, I'm not legally required, but my publisher will get annoyed at me. I have published 3 books so far: the diary, 2 picture books of the Wild Child series, and one that is coming on September 18th. As we mentioned before, it is about all of the things that go bump in the night, from bats to eye shine, to going out into the darkness and seeing what's actually out there. Bioluminescence which was quite fun to research and write about. I don't. It's got. It is for kids, but I was such a nerd that I included all of the science in it because I was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it properly. Um, um, so I hope that anyone who reads them can enjoy them. Also, they're illustrated by the incredible Barry Falls. Um, once again, and I might be having another book on the way in the future if I can finish it, if I stop procrastinating, uh, and actually make it work because I've rewritten it so many times. Um, but yeah, that's all. I God, I hate selling. I hate
That's
it. I
okay.
hate
I have to do it now too for Uncommon, so don't worry about that. It's my go.
it.
So for us at Uncommon, we are now moving on to our autumn schedule. This includes some new clubs such as LGBT. Oh no, I knew I was going to do this. LGBTQ Social Club. There we go. Games Night, Stardew Valley Club, and Musicals Fan Club. I'm excited about all of those. I'm involved in nearly all of them. And then we've also added more sessions for Roblox and Minecraft, including some quiet sessions and I think more D&D sessions. I may need to look that up, but yes. And then we're also looking to start up a club for you nature lovers in attendance today, but everywhere, where you can chat about nature, share facts, and work together on nature-inspired and sustainability projects. So if you're interested, please contact us via our email address, which I will quickly put in chat. But it's also on our website and our socials, everywhere you can find it. And yes, that's everything from me. Thank you so much, Dara. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. And let's all go and have a lovely little rest. Goodbye, everybody. Cool. Bye. Oh, good
Bye.
luck with the rest of your interrailing. Don't lose anything else, please.
See
Bye.
ya.